How many of y'all still get chills every time you sing the Star Spangled Banner? There's the things that really I can't get over. That's one thing is being an American. Being in a true land that is the land of opportunity. There's none like it. Not one. I don't think there'll ever be another land like it. Supposed to pick on the Constitution tonight, but other things kind of going through my head. But try to do a quick recap tonight. Last night, those wasn't here, I spoke on the Declaration of Independence. And one of the main things that I wanted to get out of that was it is a God-inspired, biblical, Christian, amazing work of art. And don't forget, that's our founding document. That is what proclaimed us to the world that we are free and we are Americans. And I wanted everybody to realize too that the Constitution, it goes hand in hand with it. You can't have one without the other. You can't go against one and not go against the other. That is, the Constitution is our bylaws, and that is, again, like I said last night, things that are said, mentioned in the Declaration of Independence holds true in the Constitution. Even though in the Constitution, yes, the Bible is not mentioned, God's name is not mentioned, but it is flowing from the Declaration of Independence. So, same thing, the same God-fearing men who put pen to paper, who dared to challenge the tyrants of the day, to put their lives on the line to declare us a free nation. These same men is who constructed the Constitution. And always remember that. With that in mind, even throughout the whole entire convention of whenever they was going through in the summer of, I didn't write down, I think 1787, but even at the end of it, one person who history has tried to just belittle that he wasn't a Christian, he was a man of the world and stuff, but it is actually on record that at the end of all of it, this came from Benjamin Franklin, and he reminds his fellow delegates that God's hand is in it all. Have we now forgotten that powerful friend? Or do we imagine we no longer need his assistance? I have lived, sir, a long time. And at this point, I think he's in his 70s. And the longer I live, the more convincing proofs I see of this truth that God governs in the affairs of men. And if a sparrow cannot fall to the ground without his notice, it is probable that an empire cannot rise without his aid. Except the Lord build the house, they labor in vain that build it. Psalm 127:1. There's so much in the Constitution. I don't know where to begin. I mean, it's filled with so much, even legal terms. It's so, you can read it over and over and over, and it's hard to wrap your head around it and stuff. It's so vague in some areas, yet so specific in others. We'll try to, get us a little bit of knowledge there. Again, like I said last night, we as Christians, we're to study the Bible. We're to study God's Word. We as Americans, we need to study the Declaration of Independence. We need to study the Constitution, not just the Constitution, but the Bill of Rights. And don't let anybody fool you. The Bill of Rights is part of the Constitution. The Bill of Rights would not have been ratified without the promise, not the Bill of Rights, the Constitution would not have been ratified without the promise of the Bill of Rights. Rhode Island, North Carolina held out because there were certain rights and stuff that they didn't see was in there that needed to be written to be a little more specific. And yes, I'm a Southerner. I do like the Second Amendment, but I will tell you tomorrow night that's not my favorite one, and we'll get to that tomorrow night. I do like and I do stand for it. Now let's get into the Constitution. First, we have to understand why we needed the Constitution. America had just concluded the Revolutionary War, and now we have our independence. The United States is now a newly formed nation, but immediately sees that its governing body is weak. The Articles of Confederation had one main flaw. In order to get anything accomplished, they needed every single state to be in agreement, all at once, all the time. And that was, of course, extremely difficult, even with only 13 colonies. In 1789, the new government was established under the Constitution. It went into operation with the Constitution as the bylaws for the governing body. The Constitution finally represents a compromise between those who desired a strong central government and also those who wanted to leave the greater power with individual states. Again, let's remember that too. No matter how much everyone tries to tear apart, no matter how much hand gets reached in the cookie jar from all of these people in Washington, in the Constitution, the states have the greater power. And we will get to that. As we first see, the Constitution starts out with one of the most important words of the whole document: we the people. We the people of the United States. There's nothing else there really to be said right off the bat. Is we as one, as a group of people, this is our government, this is our land, this is our thing, and we actually have a say in what can go on. Even though you might feel like your voice isn't heard, but we'll get to that a little later, but probably tomorrow night, but there is ways that you can reach out. This states in the first line that the government will be of the people, by the people, for the people. In Article 4, Section 4, it states, the United States shall guarantee to every state in the Union a Republican form of government. By that statement alone, it clearly states a republic form of government is what is being established. And in a republic, the supreme power is held by the people and their elected representatives. And the laws of the land that are made by those representatives, chosen by the people, must comply with the Constitution. That specifically protects all parties, the majority and the minority. One governing body to rule them all as a collective. The Constitution also lays out the responsibilities of the federal government and gives it just enough power to carry out the functions intended. And then on the other side, it lets the states retain enough power to safeguard the people from a tyrannical central government. The Constitution sets up the federal level of the government with three separate parts. And no, if y'all want to go see what the wrong ones are, go watch the video of AOC. You know, she ain't figured that out. She ain't figured that out yet, and she's in government. Sorry, let me get off my soapbox there. But these three branches are the legislative branch, make the laws, executive branch that enforces the laws, and judicial branch make sure the laws and the people who make the laws are in line with the Constitution. All of these branches do have checks and balances, and each other can use these checks and balances at any time. When the Constitution works as it should, opposing sides must come together to find an effective solution. With all these officials from the three branches on federal and state levels, they all still have the power, they all still have to answer to the main law of the land, which is the Constitution. And to keep them on the same level, all members have to take an oath to support and uphold the Constitution. That's state level all the way up to federal. Also, in order to keep everyone in compliance with their oath, the Constitution keep those with the Constitution, Congress has enacted federal laws to execute and enforce their constitutional requirements. You know, if only they would push these laws, it would be nice. And I will stop there on one point. I agree with, if anybody's been keeping up with some of the Supreme Court cases, we had one with in a Second Amendment win with Bruen over Bruen and New York Rifle Association. No, I didn't bring the full 11-page report that Judge Alito printed out, but I will paraphrase one excerpt from his thing where they were trying, the state of New York, this comes to concealed carry, they were trying to, you had to have a good reason, basically, in order to get a concealed carry permit. And of course, the reason why everybody was fighting, basically you don't feel safe. You don't feel safe and everything like that. And so, of course, everybody's turning them down. Not a good enough reason, not a good enough reason. But everything pushes up. And to paraphrase Alito, they overturned, they overruled it. They said, your laws are not, that's unconstitutional. You can't go against what's been here for all these years. And as he said, basically, if you would enforce the laws that are already on the books, we can eliminate some of the problems. Then, if it doesn't work, then we come back and see what can happen. But enforce the laws that's already there. Again, like I said last night, when it comes to things like this, I do like to ramble a little bit, but I'll try to keep it short. Federal Law 5, USC 331 states an individual, except the president, elected or appointed to an office of honor or profit in the civil service or uniformed service shall take the following oath. President's oath is a little bit different. That's why it's changed as president. He still has to uphold the Constitution, but I just didn't write it down. I, state their name, do solemnly swear that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reserve or purpose or evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office on which I am about to enter. So help me God. Again, the President's oath is almost verbatim. A few things are different, but it's still the same. Federal Law 5 USC 7311 states an individual may not accept or hold a position in the government of the United States, of the government of the District of Columbia, if he advocates to overthrow our constitutional form of government. And we might can list off a few names right there. Federal Criminal Law 18 USC 1918 lays out the removal, imprisonment, and fine for the individuals who violates the previous law. To go a step farther, President Dwight D. Eisenhower signed Executive Order 10450 into place. And we'll cover Executive Orders actually in maybe tonight, maybe tomorrow night. But basically, Executive Order from the President, that's pretty much, it is a law. And in the Constitution, if you read it, you can read it word for word. No, it does not lay out anywhere the power of an exact words of Executive Order. But I have it lit, Article 2, Section 3. It says that, well, that's the limitation. It just says that he has the executive power. The president's on with executive power, and that's kind of where they get their executive orders, their thoughts from there. But from Dwight D. Eisenhower, he put in, whereas the interests of the national security require that all persons privileged to be employed in the government shall be reliable, trustworthy, of good conduct and character. I mean, we're throwing a lot of people out right there. And of complete and unswerving loyalty to the United States. It is hereby ordered the investigations conducted pursuant to the order shall be designed to develop information as to whether the employment or retention in employment of the person being investigated is clearly consistent with the interests of the national security. Such information shall relate, but shall not be limited to, the following: advocacy of use of force or violence to overthrow the government of the United States, or of the alteration of the form of the government of the United States by unconstitutional means. Sad to say that we've had a few presidents after him that actually kind of read a few of the things. And the bad thing about executive orders, another executive order can't overrule that. The first person on that was, of course, Bill Clinton. He didn't remove some of the stuff to hold you in there. He just changed some wording around that the government wouldn't be, have a discrimination against color, race, religion, and sex. But one of the most recent, Barack Obama signed his executive order 13764, thus making way to more violations and attacks on our Constitution, because he pretty much did away with what Dwight D. Eisenhower was trying to seal for the U.S. The government officials who want more power are not going to stop unless they get stopped. I am one, and yes, if you're not of age to vote, it doesn't apply, but I am one that strictly first and completely agrees with the thing. If you don't vote, you have no right to complain. You don't vote, you have no say. You're forfeiting it. Whenever it comes to, times everybody thinks, well, my voice isn't being heard, I don't know what to do or anything like that. That is probably some of the only good things that's came out of new technology. Public records are there for emailing, addresses, all the phone numbers for all of your legislator that you voted in. Sad to say I voted for Lindsey Graham, but that would have been a better choice. I wouldn't have. But Lindsey Graham, Tim Scott, you can send them grievances all the time, see everything. One thing I have to say from our representative, Senator Tim Scott, you will get a reply from him. And yes, on most of them, it's probably done by their secretary or stuff or anything like that. But from all the ones that's gotten back from him, it's very personal. It's almost like you read some of the stuff. So it kind of makes you feel good when you actually kind of like pass some grievances on to them, and they'll come back to you and say, well, I agree with you at this point, and it kind of gives a little personal touch. So it's kind of nice to know that your voice is heard in that. And but so much of today, like I said, it gets overwhelming to see the shame that has been brought down upon the greatest nation on the face of the planet, especially the greatest nation that ever been created in the past 250 years. Will we ever get it back? I don't know. Can we get it back? Yes, we can. This nation was full of hard-working, brave men and women who went out every day, who stood to the thing, if you don't work, you don't eat. It's hard to see what all it is about today is to quote from Kennedy, that's not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Everything now is just gimme, 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 gimme. I want this, I want this, I want this. Everybody stood up for what was right. They actually fought for moral reasons. Made laws for moral reasons. Struck down other tyrannies for moral reasons, for the good, not just the good of the nation, but the good of the world. Yes, there was times, especially you take during Teddy Roosevelt, but still we were a growing country. I mean, his thing was prior to his presidency, he really, he kind of was going out and wanted to help, grow America, get us to where we build up where we are and stuff, but his thing is speak softly and carry a big stick. I mean, that still holds true today. It's kind of like the old saying is, one thing that I heard a while back, it was, don't ever think you're the toughest man in the room. Don't ever think you're invincible. Just because, you can go over there and you show what all you got, you show all your might, you show everything. That little quiet person in the corner of the room is probably the one that's gonna whoop you more than anybody else. Whenever we waged wars, on tyranny, on poverty, sacrificed for what we could, for what we had. Didn't go out just to pick a fight with somebody else. We didn't actually, fought against poverty. We didn't fight poor people. Put our money where our mouth is. Tried to go out, like I said, is there some things we made mistakes on in the past as a country? Yeah, of course we have. I mean, that's human nature. But some people in the past was able to see where they did the wrong. One person in particular, talking about with doing stuff in the past in executive orders, like I said, I love history. I love reading anything, especially with, again, I love Southern history. But one of the biggest tyrants that this country ever had, and one of the biggest people who was the most unconstitutional person that ever dared to hold the office of presidency, and people can disagree with me all they want to, but the proof is out there, is Abraham Lincoln. That's the biggest tyrant the government ever had, and that was back in the 1800s. He actually, on his executive orders, this isn't against Southerners. Of course, this was a time of war. Different things. But this wasn't against Southerners. This is against his own people in the Union. People from Maryland all the way up to Maine. He had executive orders, and one of his biggest oversteps of bounds was his treatment of civil liberties, declaring martial law on his own people, arbitrarily arresting civilians and trying them in military court, shutting down opposition newspapers because he didn't like what they had to post. Kind of getting in an early form in the 1860s, a little bit like a socialistic kind of tyrannical government. Even went to as far as the Supreme Court Chief Justice Roger Taney deemed all of his actions unconstitutional. But Lincoln ignored every one of them, and Congress never questioned him. Not saying that he didn't do some good things. I'm not holding none of that against him. But then again, like I said last night, in order to know the real facts, we have to study the real history. It's, the he said, she said, everything, my feelings got hurt because of this, that doesn't fly. Kind of like I said, back when the country was founded, back during the whole time, I said men were men, women were women. You fought for what was right, not really, even if it was a thing, if it wasn't just because of the group clique, you fought for what was right because you knew it was right. You knew it was moral. You knew it was the grounds where to stand. And the Constitution backed us. I lost my paper with one of my quotes. I had some of this in order until I got started. Historian Thomas Sowell. The Constitution cannot protect us unless we protect the Constitution. James Madison. Knowledge will forever govern ignorance, and a people who mean to be their own governors must arm themselves with the power knowledge gives. A popular government with popular information, or the means of acquiring it, is but a prologue to a farce or tragedy, or perhaps both. And one of the most recent ones, from probably one of the greatest my opinion, he should be the Chief Justice, but one of the greatest Supreme Court justices we have right now, Justice Clarence Thomas. I think we as citizens have lost interest, and that's been my disappointment. The people tend to be more interested in their iPhones than their Constitution. They're interested in what they want rather than what is right as a country. We have good people up there. It's hard to find them sometimes. It's kind of like the can't think of the what's the thing. Think of the saying. Kind of hard to find what the roses for the weeds or something or another. But I mean, it's forest for the trees. But I was trying to think of another one too. But I said we have good ones there. Getting them there, it's a challenge. It's tough. But when they get there, we as the people, we got to give them our support. We have to, if we think something ain't right, get hold of the representatives, get hold of these senators. You might can't, you want to send a grievance. Of course, Nancy Pelosi, you might can't, get hold of her because she's not really part of your district. She can't do nothing about some bad stuff she's doing. But if you don't like what, hopefully Fry makes it in. If you vote for him, and I'm not hearing pushing anybody, but I mean, someone who I deem is constitutional. If you don't think something that he might can do, or that you don't agree with, or something that he might can do better, look up the email, look up the phone number, give him a call. It's not hard to do. We got to get back to remembering, again, it started out as we the people of the United States, not the tyrannical dictator or anything like that. But good is out there, and I believe some of the good is getting there. And there's a lot of people. I'm kind of going off on a tangent right now, but there's a lot of people out there who you can get some good information from. I personally don't watch the news. Don't like it. I mean, I think anything pretty much posted. I mean, even on Fox News is still way out in left field. But there's some good people out there. Dr. Steve Turley. Langley Outdoor Academy and stuff. They got channels on YouTube and stuff, but they are, some of these bills and stuff that they're trying to push or trying to pass that we don't really understand. They actually spend their time breaking it down to common level, something that I can understand, stuff. But, you look some of them up if you can, to see what it is. And then, like I said, push your grievances farther. It's the right for us is there. The right for America is there. And again, like I said, will we be back to where we were? I don't know. Can we? We can. Dora, I think this is another wonderful night. Hope I helped more than I confused. It's kind of a hard subject to cover here, but we as America need to get back, first and foremost, back to you, Lord. We need to get back to your hand over us. We need to get back to doing the things that you deem morally right. I feel we're getting there. I feel there's a few up there who's pushing for it, and we've got some wins on our side here lately. But we need to remember that your hand is in it all, and no matter what the outcome, no matter what the fight going through that we see, it's your will that's being done. We're just here to do what you have us to do. Help us again to be pillars in the community. Help us to fight for freedom, fight against tyranny. Help us to do all we can to just be God-fearing Americans. In your holy precious name, amen.